Would you consider yourself a feminist? If you said yes, you're with 58% of the population. Wait, that's it? What does the other 42% think? I hope they don't actually think women are inferior to men. There are so many misconceptions about feminism that make people get the wrong idea about it and steer them away from supporting it. And although feminism has come a long way since it first started, there's still a long way to go before gender equality is achieved. First, let's sort out those misconceptions and understand what feminism really is. Then we'll take a look at how feminism has evolved over time thanks to the work of countless feminist leaders. Finally, we'll go over the 4 steps to achieving gender equality. Clearing up common misconceptions about feminism will reveal that many anti-feminists have beliefs that do line up with the beliefs of feminism. The first and most prevalent misconception is that feminism is about showing that women are better than men. But here's the thing. The purpose of feminism is to achieve gender equality. Gender equality is about giving equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities to all genders. Trying to make women seem better than men is just counterproductive to this goal. So while someone who advocates that women should be given more than men might call themselves a feminist, they aren't actually helping the feminist cause. A second misconception is that women can't be treated as equal to men because they're not the same as men. Well, women don't have to be the same as men. No two people are ever the same, even if they're twins. That doesn't make one person inferior to the other. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, but we all deserve equal rights and opportunities. The last and possibly most incorrect misconception is that we don't need feminism anymore because gender equality has already been achieved. The fact that 42% of the world doesn't identify as a feminist alone disproves this. Gender equality isn't truly achieved until 100% of the world believes in feminism. But that's definitely not going to be easy. Before we think about what we can do to reach this goal, let's explore what has already been done in the past to support the feminist cause. The feminist movement can be split into 3 waves, each with a different goal in mind. The first wave was from the 19th century to the early 20th century. This wave's main goal was to give women the right to vote, along with equal contract and property rights. This was also a time period when women were considered to be owned by their husbands, so naturally, first wave feminism fought against this as well. First wave feminism ended when the 19th Amendment was passed in 1919, finally granting women the right to vote. While this was a huge step towards gender equality, many women of color were still disenfranchised. More than 75% of African American women could not exercise their right to vote due to state constitutional loopholes such as literacy tests, poll taxes, etc. Native American, Asian American, and Latinx women all faced similar issues, showing that gender equality was still far from being attained. Second wave feminism lasted from the 1960s to the 1980s. The slogan for this wave was, "The personal is political." This slogan was used as a way to reflect how closely tied cultural and political inequalities were. This wave attacked gender roles and led women to realize how their lives were decided for them because of these roles. One of the most influential nonfiction books of the 20th century, The Feminine Mystique, was published during this wave. Written by Betty Friedan, this book criticized how society forced women to find fulfillment through childbearing and homemaking. The third and most recent wave of feminism started in the 1990s. While significant gains were made in the second wave, there was inevitably much backlash from it as well. The goal of the third wave was to fix the definitions of femininity that rose from the second wave. Many argued that the second wave overemphasized the opinions of upper middle class white women without much regard to everyone else. Additionally, the third wave is the first wave that actually looked at feminism on an international basis rather than just in America. So yes, feminism has come a long way, and women definitely do have more rights than they started out with. But gender inequality still does exist, and something has to be done about it. Women are still treated as inferior to men in many aspects of society, but we can work towards fixing it one step at a time. In 2018, it was expected to take another 108 years to achieve global gender equality. By the end of 2019, however, this number decreased to 99.5 years. Even though the estimated number of years to achieve global gender equality is going down, it's still too far away. If we want to see gender equality in our lifetime, we all have to do our part. But to do that, you first have to understand what needs to be done for gender equality to be achieved. Right now, only 61% of women and 40% of men in America agree that the term feminist describes them very or somewhat well. For gender equality to be attained, a large majority of the population needs to consider themselves a feminist. Let's take a look at 4 steps we can take to make this happen. The first step is to remove the negative stigma around the word feminism. 37% of Americans have a negative stigma about the word feminism compared to only 26% who consider it a positive term. Feminism is often viewed as giving women a privilege that men don't have. Some believe that the goal of feminism is to make men the inferior gender. What they don't see is that feminists just want women to have what men have had for so long. Nothing more, nothing less. Helping people understand this will hopefully remove the negative stigma around feminism to some extent. The second step is helping people understand how feminism benefits everyone, not just women. For a lot of people, just stating that gender inequality should be everyone's problem doesn't change their mindset. One specific group that feels that feminism is not beneficial to them is men. While not all men think this way, as many as 28% of them think that women's gains in society have come at the expense of men. They have to understand, however, that feminism is something that benefits everyone, not just women. Countries that educate women have better economies, healthier citizens, and less violence than countries that don't. If women are educated, they can enter the workforce, hence boosting the economy. For every 1% increase in the population of girls educated, a country's GDP increases by 0.3%. In fact, half of the economic growth for the past 50 years in UN member countries is attributed solely to girls having a better education. Each additional year of girls' education also decreases infant mortality rates by 5 to 10%. Women having more important jobs is actually beneficial for companies. Individuals with female managers are 6% more engaged. All in all, there are multiple ways that gender equality will help everyone. Understanding this and helping others understand this will encourage more people to be feminists. The third step is to teach the next generation about feminism. As you learned earlier, there are so many misconceptions about feminism that steer people away from supporting it. But where do people get these misconceptions of feminism from? While there may be exceptions, for the most part, these ideas arise at a young age. Children may start noticing gender inequality as early as 3 to 5 years old. Without good examples or proper guidance, it's easy for kids to get the wrong impression of feminism. For people to believe in feminism as an adult, they have to be educated about it properly early on. One of the best ways to do this is by teaching kids about feminism in school. However, education isn't just confined to school. Kids learn best by observing the examples set by parents, teachers, older siblings, and other important people in their life. If they see gender inequality in their household, then they'll think there's nothing wrong with it. But if they see gender equality at home, they'll know that gender discrimination is wrong when they see it outside. Teaching those who are younger than you about gender equality will help shape the next generation into feminists. The fourth step is to increase female representation in positions of power. Almost all of the countries closest to eliminating their gender gap have had at least one female leader. Kamala Harris becoming the first female vice president is definitely a huge step for the United States. Unfortunately, the fact that the US has still never had a female president is likely one of the reasons why it's still 53rd in gender equality rankings. However, leading a country is not the only position of power there is. Women taking up leadership positions in companies will also help with closing the gender gap. And as a bonus, companies with women in leadership roles generally do better than those without. In the companies that have the top 20% of financial performance, 27% of leaders are women. Among the bottom 20% of financial performers, only 19% of leaders are women. Altogether, empowering women to pursue positions of power both in the government and in companies will help with proving that women are in fact capable of doing things that are typically labeled as masculine. So while gender equality is still quite far away, if we all do our part, there is no doubt that we can achieve it. So now you know that not all anti-feminists really hate feminism in its true form. Misconceptions about it often come in the way of understanding what it really is. You learned about how the first 3 waves of feminism were successful in getting 58% of the population to identify as a feminist. But you also understand now that gender equality is far from being achieved, which is why we need to do our part to help. So let's take a stance and make gender equality a reality. Thank you.